Hello, welcome to our group podcast, Live Event 2022. I am joined by Collier Ricks for our podcast. Our crisis for this class was the zombie outbreak. It took place in spring of 2022 for our MCO 4346 Public Relations Campaign Programs course. Overall, we are going to be reviewing the crisis for the zombie outbreak, how we did as the PR team. Our PR team consisted of not only Collier and Kevin, but also Jordan Martinez, Colin Corse, Brandon Rolfe, and Rosa Hernandez. Overall, I think our group really performed the best out of everyone. We went out there, we posted on social media consistently. We were monitoring any information that we could ever get our hands on, and just making sure everybody was safe and that command center was safe.
This event was very exciting. It was a great learning experience. And now let's just start getting into the basics of what happened. I had a role in my team. I was on the PR team, and my role was the strategist. So I strategized for the group as well as with my spokesperson. Shout out to Carmen, who was my spokesperson for the event. She did a fantastic job, and I felt like me and her teamwork together, trying to organize everything, doing any last minute changes we had to run through, and staying in communication to keep everybody in the group together and on the same page.
Moving on to our first question, what were some of the best things that we did? Some good things that we did were, I guess, just sticking together and being one as a group. I noticed other groups, they wouldn't know what they were doing. I know the reporting group got turned all into zombies, I think within the first 20 minutes of our live event. I know I made sure to tell my team before they left, like, hey, you see anything weird, let me know, or, head back over here as soon as possible. Like if you think, something's up during the live outbreak of the zombie crisis. So I was like, I don't want anybody turning into a zombie.
But to reflect on everything, one of the things I learned is that communication is important. Being able to communicate with your team members on both sides and being able to strategize and work together to reach an end goal.
I agree. We as a team, we worked really well. I think the only hard part was just forming that team itself. And that goes on to our next question. What were some of the worst things that we faced as a team? Some worst things that we did, I guess, is just not enough preparation. I feel like we were so caught up within the event, we let time go by. We were late to one of the press conferences because just everything was coming right at us. Another thing was not having people know their role. It was so hard at the beginning because everybody's like, what's the live event? What are we doing? And then Dr. Colley was like, hey, these are the roles for the PR team. And then, you pick a role, and not only that, you have to alternate between roles if somebody gets too overwhelmed in the live event. And I guess that's the hard part people had, because as soon as you assume the role, people were like, well, what are my responsibilities? It says it right there in the stuff that Dr. Colley sent. But it's just people not putting the pieces together as to how the live event is going to come.
We definitely faced some issues. We faced issues of information, misleading information, and all of those sorts of different things. And it was very difficult to face those challenges with all the commotion going on. But with the lesson of not folding, under pressure and staying in focus on what's more important, and that's getting the facts, things probably wouldn't have been as hectic as they were. But in the beginning, everyone was so confused leading up to the event, days leading up to the event. And people were so confused. And me and my spokesperson just had a hard time trying to get everybody to understand their roles clearly. And one thing I wish we would have known before the event was everyone's role, specific role and clear role of what they were doing. Because whenever we all came in, everyone was lost. Everyone brought what they needed and they were just lost. And that's normal. I feel like, because whenever you going into a crisis communication or a crisis, the communication team, they don't know that it's about to happen.
And looking back on it, I think the professionals were really trying to help us and guide us when it came to that, because we were at a loss. And, when you're in crisis communications, you can't, play catch up. You have to prepare for the crisis. And I think that's what we struggled with the most, is just the preparation part in general, because we were so focused on having everybody know their roles and know their responsibilities. Some professionals that assisted us were Abigail Dudek from Tarrant County 911 District. She helped us figure out how to phrase our social media in a way where it's not identified as like a true crisis from local officials or people who are not aware that we're hosting a live event, letting them know that, hey, this is a fake simulation, this is not real, and to not contact the authorities, making sure that when we post something on social media, making sure that it is followed up with by, this is a fake simulation, this is not real, this is not happening for real.
A little bit of advice I have for any student and going into next year's event is to don't be scared, don't fold under pressure, stay focused, and whatever role you in, make sure you do it the best of your ability, ask questions. And the biggest thing is stay in communication with your team members and your classmates, because there's no communication, there is no event. There's nothing, and we're all and no one's gonna understand anything. So just stick together, believe in yourself, and you can get the job done.
What I learned about working together as a team and our jobs during a crisis, I learned that we're going to have ups and downs as a team. It's hard getting everybody together because everybody has conflicting schedules. Some students are student athletes, others work full-time or part-time, so it's kind of hard to know your role and then get to know everybody else's role on top of that. What I had wished I'd known before the crisis, I had wished I'd known that how the live event was going to be structured. If we knew our roles from the beginning of the semester and understood what our positions entailed, I feel like everybody would have had a greater understanding of what was going on. I wish we had known, we could have had time to put our groups together and talk about and coordinate with these things. But as I stated before, it's hard to get everybody all in one place. Some advice I would give to students who will be acting as a similar team next year, I would just start at the beginning of the semester. Know who's going to be on your PR team. Know the roles and responsibilities. Making sure that any information that's provided in the lesson content tab, to use that thoroughly as your guide. And what our team did best during the crisis event this year, I think they did an amazing job on just being a team as a whole, making sure we weren't deviating from one thing or another thing or saying something that wasn't true. And I really enjoyed working with everybody. To conclude, I hope everybody gets a use out of the information we provided within the podcast today. We'd like to thank anybody who joined and listened in. Collier, do you have any last words to say?
I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Collier and Dr. Dean for bringing professionals out with us to help us during the event. And that was pretty exciting, being able to learn from people who really work in the field. I want to give a shout out to Miss Betsy Boyer, Miss Eddie Gallingar, Miss Kristen Barton, Miss Valerie Carrington, Miss Karen Mims, and Miss Abigail Dudek. Thank y'all so much for coming help. teach us what y'all know. And if you learn from the best, you could be the best. So I believe that Texas Wesleyan and the people that we have helping us and the people that we work with are the best.